Tom Wenzl, Professional Ethics, and the question is, why does morality matter? And just thinking back through my long years as a kid, there wasn't a maturity there, and there wasn't a lot of leadership in the decisions I made regarding morality. But the things that my parents valued, the things that they instilled in me, those stuck with me and those carried on. So hard work, a good work ethic, marriage, long-lasting marriage, that stuck. The things that they didn't value, the things that they said, oh, that's a wrong thing to do, some of those things stuck. I remember one time wanting to take up smoking just to see what it was like. So I got a pack of cigarettes, probably stole them, got on the roof, smoked them. My parents come upstairs and say, what does that smoke smell? And they caught me, and I said, well, I was just going to try it. And so they said, that's not a good idea. And so, they were my leaders and coaches and teachers. So in a big show of, bravado, I came downstairs and threw the pack in the trash and said, I'm not going to do it. And they were happy. But when I was a teenager, I wanted to do what my friends did. I was kind of a follower of some sort. So what mischief they got into, I wanted to get into. And there was a lot of it. But there was also not a maturity level. And that came. So when I got married in college, that's kind of the start of the turning point. So there was not only some maturity, but there was also a responsibility that I had. And then I started having children with my wife, and the first three were pretty close together. And all of a sudden I had something that was mine, and I had responsibility over them. And so there was a level of morality that I had to instill in them, because they were just fragile, and they were very much sponges for whatever we as parents said. But when I became a Christian, all the more reasons came to be. I was called on to teach and to pray and to guide maybe youth or children's ministries. And what I realized was that it does matter, because the parents were just dropping out these kids as a babysitter, and what we as the leaders, brand new Christians for me, we had to fill in what the culture was trying to fill in their minds. And what was important was that we fill that with something valuable, so that they had a clear sense of right and wrong, and instead of what the culture says, do whatever you want, whenever you want. I had those kind of thoughts when I was that age, and I didn't have much of a guide in my life, and I know that it allowed me to go in some wrong directions. But now that several years had passed, and I saw that, now that I'm pretty mature and I have that mantle of responsibility like my father had over me, it's very important that I take hold of that with a sober judgment and say, what I want to fill the heads of these children with are things that God would be proud of, because it's my legacy. It's their beginning of their legacy, and what we fill it with matters, because the generation is so pulled into the culture that if the culture wins that battle, then it's filled with things that are fleeting. The morality becomes fluid, and things like abortion or doing things that are very destructive and violent just because everybody else is doing it is what they'll call their morality. So we have to fill it with things that are vibrant and good and wholesome, because that's peace and order. And when you talk to most people, they say that's a much better thing than the violence and the chaos that they've seen in their lives. So I think the morality lends itself to what God wants us to experience, that peace and order and the things that are wholesome and good. And that's why it matters, because we want to lead society in those paths instead of the paths that the culture wants to lead people into.